Good to have you with us on this special broadcast. Joining me right now is the Deputy Chief Minister of Rajasthan, Mr. Sachin Pilot, as we count down to the big deadline of May 3rd, when lockdown 2.0 is supposed to end. What happens to life after that? What are various states working on? Just how ready are we for the third phase of our war against coronavirus? Mr. Pilot, thank you for speaking with us. Let me first try and get a sense from you on what is the view within the Rajasthan government. What should be ideally the way forward post May 3rd?
We've been very clear about what we want moving forward, May 3rd. I think it's time that we start to breathe life back into the economy. But it's also important for us to make sure that the red zones and all the districts where we have infections, we maintain that lockdown, because I think all our efforts of the last 37 days will go to waste if you open up every travel and the movement of people. So we have to have a very calibrated and a very careful approach, that people who are in the bottom of our pyramid, people who need our support, people who are daily wagers, laborers, farm laborers, they need to get back into the working field so that they can make two ends meet. At the same time, we've got to make sure that we ramp up our infrastructure, our medical capacities, and with God's grace, last 35 days, we've been able to do that. So I think we have to have a balanced and a mixed approach. It's not a question of either or. We've got to certainly be careful. We've already allowed factories which are not in the city limits to operate. We've allowed all farm activities to take place. Purchasing of the crop is already happening. So there is some movement. We need to be really on that path. And I think the government of India also needs to show a little bit of flexibility in allowing state governments to decide how much and when they want to open up the economic activities.
Okay, largely the understanding is that these 40 days, while of course were used to try and contain the infection, to not let it spread in a country with the kind of population that we have, it was also meant to be used for states to prepare for what could come next in terms of health infrastructure. Can you give us a sense of what has been the build-up on that? Now, do we have enough ventilators, enough quarantine facilities and COVID hospitals?
Well, it's almost impossible within 40 days to come up to world standards. But certainly in our state, we've been able to procure enough medical supplies, PPE kits. Unfortunately, the rapid test kits turned out to be faulty, the ones that ICMR gave permissions to import from China. But at our own level, we've identified up to 1 lakh beds in a situation where we reach fourth stage and the contagion is very rapid. But we've got testing centers now in a lot many more districts. Earlier we had to send the samples to Delhi and Pune. Now we have testing labs within Rajasthan. So we're ramping up, and don't forget, we're also doing perhaps the maximum testing. So the numbers that are coming out are indicating that there is spread of infection, but it also is telling you the ground reality. The easiest way for any state is not to test at all. Then you have no positive patients, but then you're looking at a much murkier outcome in a few weeks from now. So our own healthcare department, our doctors, our nurses, our ward boys, our frontline warriors, our district level hospitals, we've asked all our MLAs to give 2 years of their MLA-led funds towards procuring medical equipment, because I think we have to also prepare for the future. This will hopefully pass, but what happens next when there is a situation like this? So we have to prepare, keeping the future in mind. We've used these last 35-40 days to ramp up our healthcare infrastructure, our capacities, our resources, and I think we've done a fairly decent job in containing what could have been a much worse situation.
Okay, so while tourism is a big part as far as Rajasthan is concerned, which I suspect will take a longer time to be revived, there are other industries as well that form a big part of the economic activity within Rajasthan. What is the government's plan to revive these, and what help would you want from the center then?
Well, as you know, Rajasthan has been a very important tourist destination for people from all over the world. But now we have to think about more in-house activities. We need to get certain sessions from the government of India, the hotels, tourism also is one of the largest employers in Rajasthan. So all these people need to get gainfully engaged. We have to start, providing people the safety and comfort of being able to travel and visit. Of course, people will, cut down their expenditures on leisure. But tourism and travel has been a very, very, it's a mainstay for the Rajasthan economy. We've already had a few meetings on what the way forward could be from within Rajasthan and from within India. We will encourage, because we have a lot of international tourists that may dry up. So we have to look at plan B. We're already thinking of how we can now start facilitating people to travel in safe conditions, our tourist guides, our hotel staff, how they can be trained to have some sort of social distancing maintained, hygiene standards. So we're working on a plan to revive this industry, given the conditions that we have to unfortunately deal with.
Okay, but what about the marble industry, stones, the handicraft, and textile, so many other smaller businesses which at this point within Rajasthan would be staring at the possibility of a shutdown.
Well, these are all important industries. Unfortunately, all of our revenues have dried up because the last month and a half there has been absolutely almost no economic activity. So we have to start, step by step. We have to, put brick by brick. We can't really go into opening up all the economic sectors, because that will really create a fertile ground for the pandemic to get even more strong. We have to see how the world is on the May 3rd. And then we've given permissions for certain factories to operate. And I think factories that are involved in food processing, factories that involve in keeping our essential supplies going, those are far more important. Of course, then we come down to other things like mining. But, for example, in Rajasthan, Narega has been a great employer. And 9 days ago, there were 60,000 people employed in Narega.
Yeah.
Today, I'm happy to tell you that more than 10.5 lakh people are getting employment through Narega. And we've ensured that they have those safeguards in place: washing hands, soap kits, sanitizers, masks, and they have distance between themselves while they work. So we have to start step by step. I think all those textile, mining, other important industries will come into play, but I think it's a little premature to start, thinking about how to reopen them yet. May 3rd, we'll have to see which districts are corona free, where we can start activities. We as a country, and certainly Rajasthan, cannot take the liberty of having risks upon us, because if this spreads, we don't have the bandwidth to tackle this challenge. We must learn from the mistakes that the US has made, or Italy or France have made, and we have to prepare ourselves with the conditions that we live in. India is still a developing country. We can't afford too many people being infected, because we as a nation don't have enough ventilators and hospital beds, even in normal circumstances, let alone when we are hit by an endemic. So it's a very precarious situation. We are very positive, we are confident that we'll overcome this challenge, but we have to be mindful. We have to rise above, petty politics and name calling. We have to work as a nation and see what's best for our citizens.
Okay, one of the biggest talking points in the country, and legitimately so, has been the plight of the migrants. Thousands of people, daily wage workers, laborers, stuck in states which is not their home state, thousands of kilometers away from their own home. Now, I'm given to understand that about 29,000 people, migrants from all over India, actually registered on the Rajasthan government portal within the 2 hours of its creation, and this is data just from 27th of April. What's the plan there, Mr. Pilot, are you attempting to get these people back, or talking to individual state governments to ensure they're taken care of in the other states? How are you going about it?
Tanvi, when we tell our countrymen that stay at home, it's so easy for us to say that. But what about people who don't have homes? Or what about people who are thousands of kilometers from their homes? So we must really think about those people, and they, to my mind, should be a priority both for Government of India and for the state governments. It's true that many people of Rajasthan are in many districts, many states all over India, and thus far they've been looking after them, and vice versa. People who are stuck in Rajasthan, we're giving them food, shelter, making sure they're comfortable. But after a point, people do want to get back. But here, I think it's about 2 lakh people have registered to come back to Rajasthan, and about 1 lakh people who are in Rajasthan from different states have registered to go back. Now, this must be done in a very, very careful fashion, because proper screening at the borders, and then people who come back to their homes and villages must also be quarantined for 14 days, because families want the members to come back. But there are other communities who will say, well, you travel to places that have been infected, which are red zone areas, and why make the infection travel along with people? So we must screen people, must quarantine them, and once they test negative, then they must go back into their normal habitations. But it's true that the migrant laborers, the farm laborers who are away from their homes, have no money. Really, we've seen very disturbing pictures of people walking hundreds of kilometers, men, women, old age people. So we must think about those people first, and Government of India must come up with a national level policy so that there is no discrepancy in what Assam is doing or what Maharashtra is doing or what Rajasthan is doing. We all want our citizens to be safe. But ultimately, we are Marwadis and Assamese and Marathis and Gujaratis later. First, we're Indians. So wherever we may be, it's the local administration and the state government that should be responsible for housing and feeding those people to the best of their capacities. And that's what we as Rajasthan have been doing.
No, but so I want to understand this. While you say that, of course, we need to help them out, especially if they are homeless, they have no money, which is the case. They're all struggling to get some food as well, despite the state governments trying to do as much as they can. But is Rajasthan ready with the quarantine centers to bring thousands of these people back?
We've deployed senior IS officers on the borders of our state, and they will do the needful, whether it's checking people, making sure that they're screened properly, and also we have used technology and GIS mapping to make sure that we are keeping track of people who come back into the state. Because asymptomatic people will not show symptoms for next 14 days. So I may be showing no signals of corona virus today, but in 10 days' time, I may show symptoms. At that point, it becomes impossible for us to track that individual. So our departments are using technology to map those individuals who are entering the state, so that at a later stage you can go and do that contact tracing and make sure that we are able to treat and isolate people. The other thing is, Tanvi, that people have a very negative stigma attached to this COVID-19. It's something that majority of people get treated and recover and become healthy again. So the stigma of being infected is seen as a negative thing in our society. We must voluntarily come forward, get tested, get cured, and go back home. Because more we hide, the more we do less testing, the bigger trouble we're creating for ourselves in the future. So we have to really be very open, transparent. And I think government should be very honest in talking to its citizens about what needs to be done. We must give actual data, true facts, paint the correct picture, not hide things, not cajole people into believing different things, misinformation, rumor mongering. All that will finish if governments are open and transparent about what the reality is.
Okay, in fact, Rajasthan does have one of the better testing rates, in terms of per 10 lakh people in your state. You have a better recovery rate of about 32% the last time I checked. In fact, even we're given to understand that the Prime Minister specifically praised the efforts of the Gehlot government in the last meeting that took place. But as this coordination between state and center happens, Mr. Pilot, what is it that the state is seeking from the center right now in terms of support?
We asked Government of India to give state-specific funding for the states, because the battle against corona is not fought in New Delhi. It's in the states and districts where people are sick, people are getting treated. So we need, resources have dried up in the last 40 days. Government has no money. I mean, the GST money is not coming in. No activity on the industrial front. We have no sales of petrol, diesel, excise. So money is dried up. So government really must come forward and look at states which have a larger problem, prorate the resource allocation, and make sure every state is given that financial headroom to fight this battle. Because unless you give states the kind of money and resources, we can't overcome this challenge. It's okay for Government of India to have policy level decisions, but on the ground, actual battle of the coronavirus is being done in the state governments. And irrespective of which party is heading which state, we must really look at how to contain this. So medical support, financial support, and this non-partisan way of thinking, I think that's very, very important for us to have at this in today's day.
Is there an amount in terms of a package from the center, a financial aid that you have presented right now?
Government of India has announced 1.7 lakh crore package, stimulus package, but that's very generic macro level package. I'm talking more about the state government, because many states have asked for money, buying PPE kits, to get extra beds, ventilators. So that resource allocation still hasn't happened. And I say that because the conditions are different. What happens in Nagaland and Manipur is different from Punjab and Rajasthan. So look at state-specific issues, look at what could be done, and then give a helping hand to overcome this challenge. Because this virus does not distinguish between Delhi, Haryana, and Rajasthan, between Hindus and Muslims and rich and poor. If the British Prime Minister can get infected, anybody in India, can get infected. So we have to rise above, region, caste, religion, and make sure that we, as a nation, as one people, are able to take on this challenge and beat it. We've done, fairly well thus far. And if all goes well, in a few weeks' time, we'll have happy news. But for that, we have to come together. We have to rise above our differences and make sure that we do what is required in today's time.
My last question before I thank you. The students, thousands of them who've been in quota, has become, a big talking point again. Many states have scrambled to get these students back. They themselves, these youngsters, are putting out appeals saying conditions in the city are bad, hostels are shutting down. What's your government done so far to help and support these students?
Well, all the students who are in quota from all over the country, they are between 16 and 20. So they're pretty young boys and girls. Of course, everybody wants to go back home. And we have facilitated any state government that wants to take their kids back. I'm all for it, don't get me wrong. But I also believe that we can't have two standards. A lockdown that is stopping all the migrant labor from traveling, even on foot. And on the other hand, we are sending planes to, charter planes to fetch people from outside who are Indian citizens who want to come back home, and luxury buses for students to go back to their home district, which is fine. But you can't have two sets of rules, one for the migrant labor and one for kids who are studying in quota. I think everybody deserves to be treated equally. So I've always said that if you are letting people go back, it should be done in a very transparent fashion. Rajasthan government has tried to give all support. I was in touch with the district collector of Kota almost on a daily basis. So we gave food and we gave whatever is required. They have hostels they're living in. I'm happy those kids, most of them have gone back. Very few now are left. I think Bihar is one government that has not come forward, but I'm sure that will happen soon. But my point is that if you're allowing a section of people to go back to their homes, then a lot of hard burning happens in people who don't have voices or are not as influential or as financially better off as other people. So this discrepancy leads to a lot of hard burning.
Correct.
We must have a national level policy of what should be done. I think everybody deserves to be treated equally.
Correct. No, you're absolutely right there, and that's my view as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Sachin Pilot, for speaking with us and joining us right now on with details and insights into Rajasthan's war against coronavirus. Thank you for joining us.